Hello and bienvenido, San Antonio. Welcome to the Alamo Hour, discussing the people, places, and passion that make our city. My name is Justin Hill, a local attorney, a proud San Antonian, and keeper of chickens and bees. On the Alamo Hour, you'll get to hear from the people that make San Antonio great and unique and the best kept secret in Texas. We're glad that you're here. All right, welcome to the Alamo Hour. Today's guest is Suzanne Taranto-Etheredge. Suzanne is the president and CEO of Culinaria. Culinaria is a 501c3 committed to promoting San Antonio's area food scene, making it a better food destination and wine destination. They're involved with what everybody, I think, has experienced in Restaurant Week. That's something they put together. And I learned today y'all have other things like what do y'all call them? Food tours? Food?
Yeah, well, we have a lot, yes.
But
we
on
have food trails.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. I didn't know that. I thought that was super cool. Yeah. I was looking into it. I learned some stuff about our food scene today, and I thought I was probably pretty good. You know, I'm the guy that like all the North Side guys who have like wives and kids will call and say, "We have a date night. Where do I go?" Yeah. There was a time I was good at that. I'm not as good at that anymore. Suzanne, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. I know it's the middle of Restaurant Week, so it's probably your busiest time of the year.
It is a little busy, but it's a different kind of busy now with, COVID protocols in place. So it's been very interesting to adapt and change and sort of pivot in the middle of, our world. So, it's never too late to eat out. That's the good news.
Well, I was looking at the Restaurant Week menus. Most of them have to-go options, which is the first time I've ever seen that. And we're going to get into Restaurant Week here in a second, but I'm going to do what I do with all of my guests and kind of go through some top 10 questions with you. Being part of the food scene and the wine scene, yours are going to be a little bit different. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and let's
You never know, Justin. I mean, there's time. You don't know.
Everybody's thin-skinned these days, but I had Stefan Bowers on here, and I really appreciated how he was not concerned with hurting anybody's feelings. So, let's take inspiration from that today. Starting off, what brought you to San Antonio? How long have you lived here?
Oh my gosh. So a job brought me to San Antonio. I had a choice to live in either Austin or San Antonio. Everyone was crazy. They couldn't believe I chose San Antonio, but I knew the minute that I got here because I was doing a lot of things strategically statewide for another organization. And so I had the choice where I wanted to go. And the minute I got to San Antonio, I just was in love. And I've been here for, like over 15 years now.
Okay.
It's flown by like crazy. I mean, I was just a child when I got here. So, I mean, it's been a really fun ride, but San Antonio, more than any other city, just made me feel at home. People here are so welcoming and so gracious, and I just loved it. And I'm a Texas girl. I'm from North Texas, so it just was a really great fit. I'm from Canadian Texas.
Oh, you're from Panhandle, North Texas.
I'm from the Panhandle.
I'm from North Texas. You're from the Panhandle. My dad was born in Borger. Oh, wait. My dad was born in the Mineral Wells area. He was raised in Borger.
Gotcha.
And I grew up in the Wichita Falls area, which is Wichita Falls, I think, is more like traditional North Texas.
Yes. So you get it. Like that sort of North, so I really love San Antonio just because everyone was so friendly and kind, and it just feels San Antonio still to this day feels smaller to me, and I like that. I like that we get to all be interconnected and know each other.
Did you go to Texas Tech?
You know what? 2 of my siblings did, but I did not.
Where'd you go?
I went to A&M.
Oh, okay. I went to A&M.
And then, well, technically, I started at A&M, and then I finished at West Texas A&M.
Okay. Well, everybody kind of regionalized going to school.
Exactly.
So you moved here in what, 2015?
Do what?
I mean, 2005. Is that about when you moved here?
Yes.
All right. Where are your favorite spots in town to eat now? So I won't say universally, but now where I know, even though you're culinary, you got to share your love.
It's literally picking my favorite children. So I'll go with, so pandemic, right? So I'm loving the to-go options from Meadow. They have this they've done a really great job since the pandemic started and I don't want to cook, let's be clear. I'm not into cooking. I don't want to do it. I eat out for a reason. So they did a really good job of sort of bringing everything to you. And they have, free delivery within a mile. And so I thought they did such a great job. Like they have half price burger night, and then they do half price wine night. So I would just order all my wine on, Tuesday and get my burgers on Thursday. It was great. So I've been loving that. I love Jardine. I think great, thoughtful new place added into the scene. I just went to Rebel this weekend. I love Rebel. I mean, I eat everywhere though, so it's really not fair. I love El Haro for good Mexican food. I kind of eat everywhere, so I really love all kinds of cuisine. So I sort of start popping around genre wide, and then I love Trey at the museum. I think that's a really cool spot. I love everything. This is the hardest question that I ever have to answer.
Well, they're going to get worse. So, but
oh, great.
El Haro's kind of in your neighborhood, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So during the pandemic, I sort of stayed closer, as I assume most people did, right? We're seeing a lot of people who are staying closer to where they live now because that's where they're working as well. And so I found it really easy to somewhere that's close to me when I'm Zooming until 6 o'clock or whatever and just have my food show up. So I was really liking that.
I've found myself going to Playland more than I should. And I also found out Sichuan House will basically deliver anywhere.
They'll take it anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that place. It's so good. Everything is so good.
Super close to Thai D, so I get to kind of cheat with that. Have you been there?
Spoiled.
Yeah.
Who hasn't been there?
A lot of people still haven't. And you cannot wear tank tops in there. Just as an aside, you have to have sleeves on the shirt, which is surprising considering
you need to dress appropriately to go to Thai D. Exactly.
Well, I have a pool, so there's been moments that at 4 o'clock after a day in the sun, having some drinks, everybody's like, let's go to Thai D. And the gas station next door sells T-shirts, just in case you need to know.
Right.
What are your favorite spots for drinks right now? Cocktails, wine, whatever.
Well, I like them all. I wish that bars were open. That would be a great place to start. Friendly Spot is always a great place. Really, I'm sticking to patios right now. I'm trying to do my part to be COVID free. I kind of like to drink all over town too. I like to drink at the Pearl. They all have I really like the people watching at the Pearl right now in particular. That's where I shop for all of my masks. So I see what everybody else is, wearing, and then I go and order a billion masks after I see them walking around. But I love Botica. Have you been to Best Quality Daughter?
I have not. I saw it though. But honestly, I mean, I'm sure this is an unpopular opinion. Hot Joy kind of makes my tummy hurt, so I don't love Hot Joy. It's pretty heavy food. So, and I loved Granary, so I will go though eventually.
Gotcha. I did love Granary. I'm going to miss that. I love Southtown. I love going to Lafrite. I love that patio. I love South Mo. So really everywhere again.
The Pearl needs, the people watching is great, but sort of in that place where you can watch all the people on the lawn, there needs to be a cocktail bar that you can sit outside. Because there's really
totally agree with you. And I don't know why they haven't done that.
Yeah, there's beer and wine, but if you want to have a cocktail, like you want to have a margarita and sit outside and watch people play with their dogs and whatever else they do, that's what I want to do. And that's not an option yet. So if that happens.
And they don't have you need that in a plastic glass so you can walk them everywhere.
Yeah. Are you allowed to walk around with drinks there?
Yeah. You can walk around with drinks, but I mean, not many people want to drink their wine in a solo cup. I mean, some people do. It's not bad, whatever.
I'm not about that. Okay. Next question. What are some of your favorite purveyors in town of either, food or meats or, we're now getting this sort of industry in San Antonio that I think is a little bit beyond the normal consumer. But, we have, the what's it called? The farmer's butcher. We have some of these specialty meat shops and, we've got wineries and breweries here too that people don't know about. So what are some of your favorite sort of purveyors of the product?
Oh gosh. I love Maverick. I love, what is that one that is right by Elm Creek? I can't think of the name. You're putting me on the spot, Justin.
The one
I
what?
Can't remember it. The little like book shop at Elm Creek, and it's like they were so good because during the pandemic they had stuff for everyone. It was great, and nobody was thinking about it. You know, you could pop into any of these meat shops when everybody else was like, you know, going through chaos at HEB. You could just pop in there and they had all the meat where you couldn't buy it anywhere else. Gosh, it's going to drive me crazy.
Well, when you
ask me another question and then I'll remember that. Yeah, and I'll shout it out.
Something we do with everybody's favorite hidden gems in the city. We're going to cover. We've already covered beer and wine and all that. So, you know, like Nuremberg pointed out, there's Denman Estate Park. I'd never heard of it. Looked it up. Still haven't been. It's beautiful. It's a cool, like off the beaten path local attraction.
I haven't heard that either.
I hadn't either. So do you have anything like that in the city when you have friends that are like, anything, you know, we should check out? You know, the botanical garden's always one for me.
Botanical garden.
The Japanese tea garden is really.
I love Japanese tea garden. Yeah. And I love, what is it called? What? I mean, Justin, I'm having a mental breakdown over here. I can't even think of what I'm thinking of.
It's my heart.
I don't know where Denman is, though.
It's somewhere in the north side-ish.
I love botanical gardens. I also love to go, you know, there are those great, in the north, right by, in between where Loch and Terror Resort is, there are those great like trails that are there and you get these beautiful views of the hill country. And they're just these like walking trails. And I love to take people there.
Like
that's
on
one of my favorite spots.
Parkway?
Yeah, well, it's like, so it's in between the resorts. You know, there's those two big resorts right there. And if you go to either resort, you don't have to go to the resort, but I always start there because I know where it is. And so you can just go on all those walking trails through there. And it's beautiful. It's really nice.
Okay, so you
call that a definite hidden gem. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite dishes in San Antonio? And like for me, it's always there at Cured at one point, he had a lamb in a puff pastry, and I don't know what it was called. But to me, that's still just one of the best things I've ever eaten in San Antonio.
I love, so at Botica, he has that sushi that's like piled high with all the things. And he puts this like, I think it's apple cider vinegar, but I'm not sure. And they're like soaked in them and he puts those on top. And I am obsessed with that dish. I should know what it's called, but I don't, of course. And then I love, gosh, what else do I love? I'm trying to think of really weird things that I love all over town. I love Jason Dady does this great like gluten-free bolognese that I love. I know gluten-free is weird, but I do love it. It's so good. And then there is a bakery that does these like beef little like tartlet things that I'm obsessed with those too. So yeah, I like things everywhere.
Do you like pizza?
I love pizza.
Have you ever had Chicago's deep dish?
Yes.
At Chicago's on Blanco? Yes. Like everybody I've fed that to is just blown away. And they're like, this is the best pizza I've ever had.
It's the best pizza in the world.
It's so good. Yeah, that's also
so good
for me.
Have you had Trilogy? Have you had that? That's up in the north too.
No.
Have you had Trilogy? Mm-mm. Everybody's raving about Trilogy. I haven't had it yet, but I'm hearing great
What
things.
is it? Pizza?
It's like dish pizza as well. I mean, they've got stiff competition, but we'll see.
I don't know if I'm considered north side.
Well, whatever.
South of 410, is that north side? You know, it's all
south. Okay, yeah. So you're middle city. You're the middle of the city.
I'm of the people. What's your favorite junk food?
Popcorn. I like caramel. I like chocolate. I like salt and vinegar. I like all the popcorn. And chocolate. I'll take chocolate every day.
Okay, so I'm a personal injury lawyer by trade, and there is actually an injury called popcorn lung that popcorn workers and people that eat too, like you would have to eat so much popcorn. I'm not
You are lying. What are you talking about? You're just such a liar.
I swear.
Are you kidding me?
If you Googled,
you had one of these cases. Have you had one of these cases?
I had one in San Antonio. Yeah. If you Google, and it was for a lady who worked at like one of those popcorn stores in the mall. And it only affects people that either are around making popcorn all the time, or there are some consumer cases because there are some people that are kind of out there and will eat like 6 bags of popcorn a day. And it's the vapors that it's called bronchiolitis obliterans. Like it actually can be caused by other things, but people that are around aerosolized fake butter flavoring can get a degenerative lung condition. So eat popcorn.
Well, now I'm giving up popcorn. I'm super depressed now.
Well, don't breathe the vapors. I mean,
Okay, I'll try
you
not
know, the
to
old
do.
commercials.
Was
They
that
were
a real
popping
case?
open. I swear. Yes. You know, as crazy as it sounds, I'm not
going to
funny.
Google so many things. I'm going to Google.
All right. Well, you're going to learn this, and you're going to like step away as it's vaporing when you're done cooking it until it's done. Then you can eat it. All right.
Okay.
What has been the biggest change? How long have you been doing the Culinaria stuff?
150 years now.
Well, I don't think so. How long have you been doing it?
Gosh, it's probably since 2009.
Okay. What have been the biggest changes you've seen in San Antonio's food scene since then? I mean, obviously we have more better restaurants, but anything in particular stand out?
I think that the city has really done a great job of attracting talented people, and really, gosh, it's evolved so quickly. And I think that there are a lot of factors that go into that. But I mean, it's really grown. And I think that the confluence of culture that was found in the food before has sort of exploded, which I'm so glad, because we didn't want that to go away, right? I mean, San Antonio is such a diverse city, and the culinary offerings have always been so diverse. And so I think that with the growth, we've seen all of that sort of stay as, a fundamental element of San Antonio, and that's been really great. But it's just blown up. And I remember before, it would be, I mean, if you wanted fine dining, there was, 4 good places. If you wanted like middle of the road dining, there was, 10. And so now, just, in certain areas of town, you can see it at the Pearl, you can see it at the Rim. There are these huge concentrations of just really great quality food and some amazing talent and some really different kinds of food. And so the sheer volume of restaurants that have opened in the last 10 years has been astounding.
You think that's been more due to sort of the increase in millennials moving here, or high paying jobs, or the CIA?
I think it's all of those things. I think that, San Antonio used to be known for the Alamo and great Mexican food, and that was it. And I don't think that anybody was really interested in anything else, in terms of, because we're such a hospitality town, and so many people are coming here for 2 reasons, right? They want to go to the Riverwalk, they want to go to the Alamo, they want to eat some great Mexican food. And so I think that what happened was, all of the chefs and all the talent were kind of like, oh, well, I don't make Mexican food. I'm just over here doing, this amazing French food, or this amazing, Bolivian food, or whatever it was. And so they kind of were on the back burner a little bit. And I think that there was, some bright lights that were shown on the city. I think that Bravo made a huge difference. I think that when Bravo started airing from San Antonio, it was a huge difference almost overnight. I think that the CIA made a huge difference. I think that all of the players that came together really started realizing that, the scene was really ready to go to the next level. And so I think it's been, a lot of different things. And I think it's also been, we have a lot of great tech, and we have a lot of people who are just sort of exploring the city all the time. And so that kind of demanded some new things and new offerings and a growth spurt. And we, I think that the whole scene really adapted nicely.
So when you moved here, it was kind of Dady Weissman and Bruce Auden. Those were like the fine dining, and those were kind of our celebrity chefs. And, still you have so many people that are just kind of spin-offs of those guys' restaurants. But now you have a whole new class of people too. What was your favorite place? What was your favorite place back then? Back in the 5, 6, 7?
I loved Le Rev. I loved the Lodge. I loved Biga. I mean, I still love Biga, but it's, it's kind of the only one that withstood the test of time was Biga.
Yeah. I loved Sandbar when it was in that weird little.
I loved it downtown.
Yeah. Yep. They had.
When you never knew if they were going to have food or not, you just walk up and hope that you got in.
Yep. Sometimes they had cooked food too that they would run through the basement. And there was one waiter named James, and him and I became friends. And he would say, "Come on Saturday night," and they were closed Sunday, Monday. So after everybody left, we would just kind of finish out the half-drank bottles of wine. It was great. Then it was very, yeah, it was very. Well, I worked.
And then he got fired.
Well, maybe. Did you know him? He's British. I mean, he was the only waiter, and Chris Carlson was the chef there then.
Chris Carlson, yeah, I remember
Luca. It was him and James. Oh yeah. Yep. And now he does the one in the Fairmont, right?
Silo, yeah. Well, he sort of is a culinary guru behind all Silo restaurants.
Okay.
And then, of course, Nona, which, oh my gosh, I should have talked about Nona. I love that place.
Forget it.
And I love Silo Prime. It's so good.
Okay. You know, I went once and there was us and 3 other people there the whole night. It was kind of a strange feel.
At Silo Prime or at Nona?
At Silo Prime.
Oh.
Nona's been full every time I've gone.
I love it there.
You know what's hard on nice restaurants is consistency, I've found. Like those guys that can stay consistently good. There are lots of restaurants here I've been, and one time it's the best I've had, and the next time but those ones that can stay consistent, I never realized how hard that is to do. Okay, so
it's very difficult.
You are the president and CEO, according to LinkedIn, of Culinaria. Am I saying that right, or is it Culinaria?
It's Culinaria. Yep.
Okay. What is Culinaria?
Well, it's a lot of things right now, but more than anything, it is an organization that's really dedicated to promoting San Antonio as a premier destination for wine and food. And we do that by really investing in the local scene, right? So every event that we do, every single thing that we do is really geared towards getting people to go to different restaurants in San Antonio to explore the culinary scene, to, and then also we bring in, well, normally, I don't know if I should talk about this during the pandemic or before. So during the pandemic, we've kind of adapted some of our programs that we normally do on a regular basis. We sort of took them and completely changed everything. But, I feel like it's like everybody. So right now, our biggest focus when we started in March was we immediately moved into feeding all of the restaurant workers who were laid off. 150,000 employees were laid off in the matter of a day. That was so shocking to us. And so we opened a restaurant. We partnered with Jason Beatty, who has the Shuck Shack. We wanted a smaller restaurant that we could sort of start in so that we could just feed restaurant workers that were coming around sort of that geographic area. And then we later opened Sweet Paris at La Cantera for the north side. And so our immediate function was to feed everyone during the pandemic. And then we sort of moved into a grant phase. And so, without any events, it's been a really crazy season. And now we're sort of trying to ramp back up for Restaurant Week, which is, equal parts interesting and fun and difficult at the same time. The culinary landscape, unfortunately, has been so damaged due to the pandemic that it's been, where I feel like half of our day every day is spent sort of just listening and coaching and, sort of speaking on behalf of restaurants and trying to figure out the best way that we can to help those who, some people will never open again, and some are going strong. It just kind of depends on, who we're talking about. But Culinaria is a very different entity during the pandemic. Normally, if this was a healthy year, let's call it a healthy year. I don't know what else to call it at this point, but we would normally be doing events like we have a food and wine festival, and we invite chefs and we bring in we bring in media from all over the country to shine a light on what's going on in San Antonio, and they interview the chefs and they do the events. But it's really all about promoting local eateries and really hospitality in San Antonio. And so it's usually a lot more fun. There's a lot of events. We do everything from, a 5K wine run to, a full-fledged 5-day food and wine festival. During the pandemic, we've been doing music festivals, which have been great at outdoor venues. We're kind of on a lull right now, kind of waiting it out just because cases have spiked to be so high. But, more than anything, our first thought is always just shining that bright light onto these eateries and making sure that people know, that that's where they need to go and eat. So that's kind of what we do.
Are the events essentially your advocacy as well as your fundraising?
To some degree, I would say so. Absolutely. Yeah. Because, when you have 10,000 people who are going to a festival, we want them to be going to those restaurants once it's over. And so we want them drinking the wine that we're pouring and ordering the cocktails that we're having made for them, et cetera. And so it really acts as a two-pronged approach in terms of, we want them to go and try all of the things that we roll out for them. And so we keep it distinctly focused on really this region. We've never been a festival that brings in everyone else because we don't need to promote everyone else. We need to promote everyone who's living in our city. So that's a big focus for us. And then, normally we also have a charitable component. We typically do, we do grants. Right now we're doing grants for hospitality workers, but normally that would be, culinary scholarships. And, we also typically do different things for hospitality management schools. So it's been an interesting, year almost that we've sort of changed every single thing about the organization. So, it'll be interesting.
What was the genesis of Culinaria?
So it formed with a totally different name. It was really volunteer run. It started as a group of friends getting together and enjoying great food and wine in their homes. And then it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so then they decided, hey, what if we did this? And we really focused it on, local eateries and really getting our friends and everyone to go and support, because then in particular, like I said, there weren't that many places. And so they were really like, oh, go here, go here, go here. And so, and one of them was a hotelier. There was a lot of hospitality people that were involved. And so, it started like many things do, just a conversation with friends. And then, it became an actual nonprofit in 2000 and then continued to grow. And it was very small in the beginning. It's probably a couple hundred people who would go and do things. And then it just grew from there and, sort of expanded outside of it. Started with and was only a food and wine festival. And so now it's grown to, we entertain 1 million people every year, in a healthy year, versus, 100 people. So the growth has been really amazing. And it's, it sort of scales to fit what the city needs at the time. And so we work very closely with people like Visit San Antonio and things like that, really promoting the culinary scene.
Do y'all get any government funding, city, local, state, federal?
We do not. No.
All your own money raising?
Yes.
Okay. So in a non-COVID year, y'all are going to do Restaurant Week twice, a 5K?
Yes. Yes, we do a 5K wine and beer run. We do a music festival. We do food and wine festival. We do a smaller event called Chefs and Cellars, which is where that one's crazy. And I tell everyone that's the one that you never want to miss. That one is where we invite 5 chefs. It's inside the CIA and they cook live for you. And it'll be anywhere from 5 to 21 courses. You just
Awesome.
never know. But it's much smaller, under 100 people. And so we do a lot of those events throughout the year that are smaller. So they're, because we love those boutique events. We do Rambling Rosé, which is at Becker Vineyards, and that's a blind tasting of, rosé wines, where you just go and enjoy a day at the vineyard and try a bunch of, we have a great panel, and it's a blind tasting. And then we do a lot of different beverage seminars throughout the year. So we're kind of busy all the time. It's been interesting to not have any events.
What's the music festival?
The music festival, the one that we just had, we did in New Braunfels, and it's just about really eating and drinking, enjoying good music.
Wait, is
so
it
that
called
was
something?
really fun. Well, yeah, of course. Of course it costs something.
What is it called?
It was this one we rebranded. It's the Music Festival for Good is what it's called.
Why in New Braunfels?
Because they have bigger outdoor spaces where we could do, everyone in San Antonio was kind of not really doing events. And we were really scared, but New Braunfels is in our territory. We do a lot in New Braunfels. We do a lot in Bernie. And so we really, some of our volunteers that are in New Braunfels, they really wanted to do it. We were a little nervous, but it was amazing. Like I was so happy. We had meeting after meeting after meeting about, what does this look like? We've never thrown an event where you can't, be next to each other or, drinking and eating can be an intimate affair. And so we only sold it in groups and you had to buy a table, and we had very strict guidelines on how you could move about the venue and when you were wearing a mask versus when you weren't. And everyone was so respectful. It was so great. It was really great. I was so surprised.
So Restaurant Week, I think when it first started, it was just once a year, right?
It was, yes.
So now it's grown into twice a year. And honestly, I've never really understood sort of It makes fine dining in some of the nicer places more affordable and approachable. But also there is a sort of charitable or fundraising arm to it. Explain why people should participate in Restaurant Week.
Absolutely. Well, why? Well, that's it. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. Number one, so you don't have to cook. Number two, it doesn't break the bank. So just like what you said, $20 for a 3-course lunch. And it's a lot of food. The chefs do a really great job of rolling out their best, not just, whatever they have laying around. They really do a great job of, putting together these phenomenal menus. And then dinner, 3-course prefix menu for $35 and $45. Some of them have drink pairings. $1 from every meal goes back to Culinaria. And so, in a normal year, again, that would go to our, different prong fundraising thing that we do, which is, we do culinary scholarships, we do endowment funds with like the University of Houston Hospitality Management. We do some of those different things. Now that money really will go towards the same thing, which is just building up the organization.
So some of the grants go outside of San Antonio. You said University of Houston gets some of it?
No, well, they're in San Antonio.
Oh, University of Houston management program. Okay.
Yes.
How do y'all convince restaurants to participate in these? Because you see some restaurants jump in one year, they're out the next year.
Yeah, I think that, in a healthy year, I think that typically what we see is that some restaurants just can't handle the volume. And so some of them will really, really want to participate. They'll get on board. And sometimes it takes them a while to really get it right. And so I think that, and we do have chef mentors who, but sometimes they don't, you don't always want to listen to what people are telling you. So we try our best to tell them what to prepare themselves for. But typically when we don't get someone back, it's because they just can't handle the volume. Now, in a year of COVID, it's much different. Why they don't want to do it. It may be because, there's been so many restaurant problems from, it's been really difficult on the food supply chain and, making sure that menus are consistent. And so, the great news is that we've done a lot of education for the public, just telling them, just because you see this menu doesn't mean that they're going to have it every single night. If it changes, it's okay. Like you're still going to get a 3-course meal. They're going to do something great for you, but with, different types of, I feel like it's just always something during, the pandemic that keeps us on our toes. And so, the burden on the supply chain was a problem. And so all the restaurants that are on there now are reporting back, really solid numbers, but people are being very respectful, which is great.
Does Culinaria have any fiesta events for which they are the benefactor?
We do not, but people always ask us to do one. So it's not off limits. I think at some point we'd love to do one.
When is the Wine and Food Festival?
It's typically it's in the end of October, first week of November, depending. So it's a great time.
I've been to the Austin one, which is, it's a huge event. I haven't been to the one in San Antonio. What sort of participation? I know, it's just, we have so many.
What is wrong with you, Alamo Hour host?
Well, Culinaria has never given me a special invite, and I am a local celebrity. I have tens of listeners, so maybe next year.
You're officially invited to all of our events. You need to do first. You're invited. I want you to come to every single event that we ever have.
So where is our Wine and Food Festival? How big is it?
So
who participates?
It's pretty big. We the last year we had it at La Cantera Resort. We take over the whole resort. It's pretty big, but very I tell everyone we like to maintain a little bit of a boutique feel. So we move you around spaces so you don't feel like it's just an open field. You know what I mean? We try our best to keep it feeling a little intimate, even though there are thousands of people who go. Our last year that we had the festival, we had, I think, right at 9,500 participants. And we bring in, we do kind of a buddy system in that we really only bring in chefs that our chefs are friends with, which makes it, really fun for them. And we really use it as just a great opportunity for everyone to get out there and have a really good week. It's typically 4 to 5 days, dependent on the year and the programming. Last year, or whatever year it was, the last festival was 5 days long. And it's a ton of, we had everything from, one day of like golfing with chefs to, we do a ton of dinners. We do big events. We do a full blown like tequila night. It's called Arte Agave. It's so much fun. It's one of my favorite events. We do a grand tasting. We do burgers and beer, which is outside and really a lot of fun. So
I've had
a lot of different things.
You're mentioning these, and I have purchased tickets to some of these. I don't know why I didn't go. I definitely bought tickets to burgers and beer, and I think I definitely bought tickets to the tequila thing. And who knows what happened that day?
I don't know why you didn't go to the tequila. You have lost your mind. It's the best event. It's so much fun.
Well,
it's so much fun.
It's so far out there, and tequila's, you shouldn't drive if you have a lot of it. So,
well, you spend the night.
Maybe I bought it the year. I like my own bed. I've got.
It's this new thing.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you've heard of this. Are you ready? But
there was a time it was gone. There was a time it was gone.
For 2 minutes, and there were also taxis, and there's also like.
You ever gotten a taxi?
You can also call. Have you ever gotten a limo or a town car? Easy breezy. You just call them up and they show up and they pick you up.
You think I'm Bill Gates over here? In a limo.
Or you get a sober friend. Okay, you need a sober friend.
Hey, sober friend, come to this tequila tasting. All right, so we've got Restaurant Week. I think everybody's familiar with for the most part, even if they don't do it. Everybody knows what it is. I forget about the Food and Wine Festival, but I've always gone and looked at it, and then my friends would say that I'm averse to leaving the loop. That's only partially true, but it's kind of true. Music festival in Bromville's.
Mm-hmm.
You got the grand deal where you can watch chefs cook in the CIA. That's something that would interest me.
Chefs and Cellars, super fun. And that's close to you.
McHugh at Cure did Young Guns for a little while, those things. And I think twice I was having happy hour and it just extended into Young Guns dinner and people canceled and there I was. And those were really fun. So it sounds sort of similar to that.
Correct. We just have a lot of those. Yes. But I never got to make it to one of those, but I heard it was great.
So where's your happy hour spot? Everybody's got a happy hour spot. Where's your happy hour spot?
I mean, now?
Generally in life.
I hang out at the Pearl. Yeah.
Okay. Well, ours is always Cure.
I love supper.
So I've only been to supper, I think 3 times.
Really? I love supper. I love happy hour there. And I love the bar in there as well.
It's tiny.
Yeah, but don't you just want to sit in those beer things, whatever those are called? I love that place.
What beer things? Oh, you mean the bar at the hotel?
Yes.
I mean, supper also has that tiny little like 3-seat bar.
Yeah. No, I don't sit at the bar. I sit on the patio at supper.
Okay.
Or just at a regular table, but not at the bar. And then I love going to the bar inside Hotel Emma. I mean, I like to go there and do everything. Like that used to be my meeting spot, just to go there and then let it turn into happy hour. I love it there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
I went to supper for breakfast one time, and there was a lawyer from Houston in town who will remain unnamed. But we had a hearing, and he said, "Let's go to breakfast." And so we'll go to breakfast, and we were at breakfast, and then that turned into lunch, and then he left at 4 for his flight. So I don't know what you call that when you're just somewhere from breakfast to dinner.
I call that a good day.
I was just being a supportive friend, and he wanted to stay there. So they were very.
I think it's a good day.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's absurd. Okay, so
I think it's just fine.
What are sort of the future goals of Culinaria? I mean, there's so many options for events now, and everybody's getting really creative.
Right.
Food truck fairs, all kinds of stuff sort of happening. What do you see at some of your future events? What are some spaces or locations in which you'd like to have them? Like that gin distillery on the southeast side is beautiful.
Beautiful. So gorgeous. I think that, for the immediate future, I think that what Culinaria is really going to be focused on is all of the offerings that we have that you can sort of do on your own just because of COVID. So the food trails, you mentioned those earlier. That's a great way to get out and experience the best of San Antonio, all on your own. And then certainly through offerings like Restaurant Week. We've looked at doing some virtual events, but it turns out I'm just not a big fan of them. I've done several from several different, and I just, it's really missing something. So we've been working on that a little bit. But when we can return to events, I think, woof, I'll be so excited. I can't wait.
What about
we're working
events?
with you. The what events?
What about like to-go events?
That is, we've been chatting about that a lot. So we've been doing, the great thing about Culinaria is that we are, all of our friends are chefs and purveyors, and they have, interesting products. And so we've been taking a look at doing maybe even like a box that you can take to go with interesting and, homemade products from chefs, and then they'll show you how to put it together. We've been taking a look at some of those things. We really want to make sure that it is, at the end of the day, events are meant to be fun. And, whether that's, hopefully you're really fun at your own house and you're interested in, sort of unboxing these things. I would love it, because I would love to get a box full of amazing, chef-driven, cool products. That's totally my jam. So it appeals to me, but we need to make sure it appeals to everyone else, because, a lot of people have not had great success with it. And I think it's just, people want to get out again. Now is not the time, but eventually when we do get out, I think that you'll see events from Culinaria all over town. Certainly the Food and Wine Festival will come back. We're just calling it, a nice little break. So, when it comes back, we'll have all new ideas and all interesting things. But, the most important part is that how are events going to change after this, and for how long? That's the hardest part of strategizing for, sort of the next year of unknown. Are we going to go back to, I doubt that we go back to a 10,000 person event, even in 6 months, 9 months, or a year. I don't know that people will be ready for that. Unless you're sort of, maybe some of the lawbreakers who are just having those huge parties, maybe we invite them. I'm not sure. I'm totally kidding.
Somewhere
I don't want the mayor to call me. Exactly. Yeah.
And they don't believe in masks. But, I think outdoor events are going to be the first things to come back.
I think so too. I think it'll be a great time for us to resurrect some of our sort of, crowd favorites like burgers, bourbon, and beer. That's a big event for us, no matter where we do it. We've been thinking about, we might just pop that up and do smaller iterations of that. And maybe it's, 100, 200 people. And we still are making sure that we're, distancing people for the very near future. And then of course, there's a whole lot just to, to pull off a 5-day Food and Wine Festival. It takes a really long time to plan. And so, it's sort of just watching and waiting like the rest of the world to figure out, how we're going to, bring everything back to life. But the good news is everybody is very ready. So
we really like the Pearl basket they do every Sunday, the farmer's market basket that they just put it together. Those kind of things I think people like, because you don't have to do anything for one. And it's like an approachable price, and, you get kind of neat stuff and you figure it out as it goes. But I think so many people were caught flat-footed on the to-go thing. And some restaurants have done a great job with the to-go, and some have done a terrible job with to-go. And it just, when you get the food, it's going to be gross or soggy or whatever the answer is to doing that. Some just haven't really seemed interested. And man, I don't know how you survive without it during all this. It's got to be a big part of your business.
Well, I think that, one of the things that we did was right before the shutdown, we pulled together a group of chefs just to talk and say, look, we know this is coming and you have to do to-go. And if you're not doing to-go, you're not going to be open. You're not going to have any business, right? And the hardest part for us over the course of the next couple of months after that was really trying to convince everyone not everything will stand up to go.
Yeah.
So you have to really think it through, and you can't, some things just don't hold up well. And we all know that from taking things to parties and everywhere else. There's just certain things that aren't going to hold up, and some of them were very resistant to it. And it was it's always a fascinating thing, and probably because we're not chefs, so us telling them, hey, you need to make sure that you're doing this, they're like, you're not a chef, which is true. So but some people have really just knocked it out of the park, and some have just, it's terrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
Yeah. And I mean, all of us want to support all of them. So that's what's kind of been unfortunate about some of it. One of the things I didn't realize, and Stefan really brought it, to light, was when the shutdown happened, how much product they all had to throw away. And, I don't think any of us really, I didn't realize how much just in inventory and value and inventory had to just get tossed. And I mean, then to restart, it's such a barrier to entry cost wise to restart that process. And man, I just, I didn't have an understanding of it.
Yeah. I think that, and we had a lot of, thank goodness, because San Antonio is such a great city and we all wanted to help each other. We had a ton of chefs who came to us over the, first 2 weeks of the shutdown, just saying, take all this food. I have to throw it away, or I need you. And so they were really a big part of our efforts, which was really, really great. And then we actually started with our, hospitality house. We started a network of chefs. We basically went to them and said, look, this is a big endeavor, and we've never done this before. And so we need your help getting it to your restaurant staff. And so all of the chefs would show up, pitch in, help, bring food, and then they would deliver it to their restaurant workers. It did a couple of things. One was, we wanted all that food to go to good use. And the second thing was we want them all to go back to work when they were able. And so we needed to bring some type of connectivity between the chefs and their employees. And so it was a really invaluable lesson for all of us, just sort of starting to understand. And I think, and on a larger scale in terms of San Antonio, I think it's why it's been so frustrating with the shutdowns and things like that. I mean, people are losing their livelihoods and their very business because they either can't be open or can't comply with all of the rules and regulations. So it's a very trying time in today's world for restaurants.
I mean, for so many industries, but hospitality in particular, and especially in a city like that, which has been so unfortunate. For people that are considering, doing a culinary event or giving money to Culinaria, you said that it goes to restaurant hospitality management program scholarships.
Normally, that's typically what we do. What we've done from the pandemic is that we've been giving grants to individual workers who've lost their jobs. And now we're sort of, we kind of give everything away and then reevaluate, and give everything and reevaluate. And right now we're just sort of entering into a new era of now it's time to fundraise again, because, it takes a lot to feed thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and then giving all the grants away. So, hopefully we'll continue on in that vein, as long as there are no more shutdowns or anything like that. I mean,
current grants for workers, normally hospitality management programs.
Normally, yeah.
Culinaria.
Yeah.
I mean,
culinary scholarship.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
And endowment funds. We do endowment funds for hospitality. Everything we do is hospitality geared.
And then the advocacy for our food scene.
Absolutely, which is the biggest component of our mission.
I usually, I think this is, we've sort of covered it all, but what are you eating and drinking today? What's on the menu?
I don't know yet. Probably, what I try to do is just a nice rotation. I probably will do J Prime to go.
Yeah. Do they do good to go?
So good.
It's one of the few places great. I'll really trek all the way up there to eat. I mean,
I love it.
They have lamb lollipops off menu.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. You know where else I love for happy hour is Kirby's. They have one of the best happy hours in town. I think it's like a secret. They do such a great job.
I'm not going up there.
You would just freak out if you saw their happy hour.
Yeah.
It's so close to J Prime. It's right there.
Yeah, I said it's one of the few places I'll trek to. And I mean, 3 times a year.
We've got to get you out more.
Now, you know what? There's a lot of charm lost on the north side, I think. Just my opinion. Great food, really? Great restaurants, but
yeah,
I like a little grittiness in my life, and I prefer kind of downtown and that sort of world.
Okay, gotcha.
I lived in the 09, but I was 2 houses from the cutoff, so I was the bad side of 09. But there were some great. There was a great Jamaican restaurant on Austin Highway for a while. Maybe it's still there.
I don't think it's there anymore.
What was Silo's little They're little, what would you call it? They're small little.
Nosh.
Yeah. Is that still open?
Nosh. Yep, still there.
It was great.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was.
You know what? When we're out of COVID, I'm just going to take you on a dining tour. We're just going to go to a million places. It's going to be great. We'll take Laura.
I mean, there's only so much food you can eat, though.
You'll be fine. We'll do a little sample, little taste.
All right.
Little taste here and there.
Okay. So I always end my podcast with a sort of guest wish list. Coach Pop is always my number one, but sort of for the food scene or the world in which you operate day to day, who would you recommend I try to get on the show? And they'll definitely tell me no. They will say, Pod what? Who are you?
Really?
I'll say, I had the mayor. And they're like, who's the mayor? So
who's
just
the mayor?
Who would you recommend?
Oh my gosh. And in food scene.
Well, just anything. You have a world of experience in San Antonio. Who's interesting?
I think you should do a winemaker. Have you done any winemakers or any distillery makers?
No.
Or well, let's start there.
Who? Azar?
Yeah, that would be a good one.
No, I did.
I
did Boyan from Dorchel.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, well, never mind. Then why don't you do a winemaker? Any Texas winemaker will do.
Is it the
you
French guy
Dr. Becker from Becker Vineyards?
Oh yeah, I'd like to do it. Is the French guy still in his tasting room? There was a French guy that ran his tasting room forever.
Yep, he's still there. Well, I assume. I don't know. They've been closed.
I have a story about him I'll share with you after we're off.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Yeah, so I think you should have Dr. Becker and his winemaker.
Okay. I'll reach out to him.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll connect you.
Who's the new, there's the hot beef producer kind of in the Pleasanton area, I think, that everybody's talking about right now?
Oh my gosh. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Well, I slid into
she hosts that huge dinner. No, not the Perinis. She hosts that huge farm to table dinner, and it's amazing.
Well, I slid
John
into their
from Supper
DMs to try to get them to come do it, and they read it and left me on red. So, didn't work out for me.
She'll come around.
Trust me, I don't have a problem with rejection. I'll ask everybody.
She'll come around.
Okay.
She'll want to do it eventually.
All right. So anybody else?
I mean, I could send you a list once we're off. I can just make me some connections.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to peddle my, help me all you can as much as I can. Suzanne, thank you for doing this. I'm going to go get Playland this week because that's what I wanted for my birthday, but they decided to be closed on Tuesdays now. So yesterday I got Florio's. Have you had Florio's before?
I mean, how dare them?
No.
Yeah, Florio's. That's good though.
Yeah, it's good.
Not as good as Playland, but
different.
Have you been to Rebel though?
Yeah. So
I go there for restaurant week. So good.
So that's one of my list of best meals I've ever had in San Antonio. Was when they first opened, they did their steak with duck confit potatoes. And really, I'm not a huge steak eater. And that was one of the best things. That's on my top 5 things I've eaten here. And I brought it up to Stefan, and he was very impressed. I remembered how they prepared their fried potatoes. That was a big thing to him.
Well, you know what's funny is that on Saturday night, I had the steak and then I had the fried potatoes. And then they made this thing called a spinach. It was like a spinach. The waiter kept calling it a spinach bomb. And it was the ugliest dish I've ever seen in my life. I'm not kidding. It was so good. I almost passed out. I was like, I want to have this every day.
Did you sit outside?
Nope, we sat inside.
Yeah.
And don't tell anyone. I shouldn't have said that out loud. I'm sorry.
So because of the baby, our deal is we're not going to eat inside. Yeah. I think that's about the only rule on my life right now. And so I feel pretty comfortable following that one. I'm also super hot natured, so I can sit outside. So I'm okay with that right now. Suzanne, that's going to do it for this show, but sit tight. I want to chat with you after we're off. So you get to hear my awesome outro music, and then we'll chat. Hold on real quick.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Alamo Hour. You are all what make this